Well,
And you can,
I have,
share
before we
this with
start, I have a couple very quick announcements that I want to do for the kids while they're here. So I put this, I'm going to share this. So my announcements before Mrs. Arico does her talk on college admissions next year. So for our AVID 11 class, the past 3 weeks we've been working on college application essays. So at this point, you should have 3 really nice, we could still call it rough draft because I think in the fall you're going to finalize it, but it should be very, very close to being a final draft. So these could be, you know, a mix of a PIQ and then a couple Common App essay prompts. So, you know, we did rough drafts early in junior year, and then the past 3 weeks you've been working on these to make them a lot nicer. Trust me, you're going to be so glad you did this come the fall. Second thing, the new district grading policy. So I've been doing these one-on-one meetings with kids, even into this week, just kids that I wanted to follow up with. And I've realized a good number of students are not aware that the school district, the school board has created a new grading policy. So to highlight it, so it's here on the left right here. The important stuff is this. So right here, grades shall not be lower than the grade a student earned for third quarter to hold students harmless. So what this means is you look at what you had third quarter, the grades that you had third quarter in a specific class, you're not going to get lower than that grade. So this information should be used to prioritize your efforts these last 2 weeks of school. And I'm gonna do a specific example. I took a screenshot of a random kid's grades. I'll pull that up in a second. Then the second thing is there's this alternate grade option. So if you have a letter grade of A, B, or C, you can choose to have that appear on your transcript just as a P for pass. And if you have a D in a course at the end of the year, you can opt for that to appear as credit. A P, a pass, or a credit will not affect a student's GPA. And you can do this specific for individual classes. So you could say, I want my math grade to appear as a P, you know, as a pass, and then all my other classes, I want letter grades. So let's look at a specific example here. Where did I put this? Oh, dude, I lost my... Oh, here we got some kids waiting to come in. Let me add them. Okay, so just real fast. Okay, so here's a random kid, okay? So you wanna use the fact that you're not gonna get lower than your third quarter grade to prioritize your efforts. So you can find this on Aries. So this is for this random student, you'll notice this is their third quarter grades. So what you do is you look at this and you go, okay, in history and in government, I have an A. In math, I have an A. In what's that? English, I have an A. So these classes, you know, for all practical purposes, for purposes of your grades, you're done. You're done for purposes of your grade. However, I caution you to completely shut down and do nothing. Because remember, next year you're going to be asking teachers for letters of recommendation, and it's not going to sit well in their memory, you know, if you did nothing in the final weeks of school, and then you turn around in the fall and ask for a rec letter. So, you know, the way I would word this is you want to use your third quarter grades to prioritize your efforts. So this student here is going to want to put their effort into this class and in that class, because you can earn higher than what you had third quarter. So hopefully that makes sense. And then really quickly, so finish the year strong. Remember, like I said, you're going to be asking teachers for rec letters. Fourth thing, so one-on-ones, those of you that I want to meet with just to help motivate you and keep you on track in the final weeks, I'm reaching out to you individually. However, if any of you, if you're not getting a message from me to meet one-on-one, and you'd like to, just shoot me a message on Remind, or send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to meet with any of you. And then last thing, AVID grades. So I've been updating grades about every 2 weeks, and we're at that point. So, and some of you have been emailing, asking for grades to be updated. By tonight, by 6 p.m., before I sit down to dinner, I want to have all grades updated on Aries. So what this means, I'm gonna take what you've submitted on Schoology and transfer those points over to Aries. So if there's anything lingering still that you need to get onto Schoology, have that in by early afternoon, say like by 2 or 3 o'clock. If you have it in by 2 or 3 on Schoology, it will reflect on your updated grades, which I'll have by 6 p.m. Okay. More kids are trickling here. All right, Mrs. Arico, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a really informative session. A lot of the AVID kids have been asking me questions about what college applications will look like next year, and I am definitely, you know, not the go-to person. So we're really grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. And a lot of things we're going to talk about are ideas. There are not everything is set in stone. So just keep that in mind. You guys are going to feel like the guinea pig class because there's a lot of changes that affect you guys specifically, and nobody's done it before, but there's lots of things that have been going on in the college world for years. So you're really not the guinea pigs. It just feels like it. So keep that in mind. So Mike, I sent you the presentation if you want to share it with them.
Yep. Let me click over to my email.
Okay.
Okay.
And lots of things that Mr. Spalding touched on, I'm going to be touching on as well. So I know it sounds repetitive, but the things you hear over and over are really important. So keep that in mind. I'm so glad you guys are working on essays. It is the one thing I think that is one of the most valuable things about AVID. So you guys will have your essays done. Anyway, applying to college and COVID-19 is kind of what I'm calling this presentation. I made a lot of changes to my presentation. But go ahead, Mr. Spalding, we can click on the next.
Let's see here. I'm sharing. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. So as you guys know, when we talk about college lists, and I'm sure all of you have a college list right now, you are looking at your schools for your financial fit, your academic fit, and your social fit. But there are changes and new factors that are happening because of COVID-19. So you might want to relook at some of your college lists. Don't be afraid to be looking at them all through this process. Things you might decide are going to drop off, things you might want to add at the last minute. That's okay. But I will caution you when you are adding, don't just add to add. Make sure it's a reasonable expectation. And you still want to make sure it's a school you still want to go to. So even though all of this is going to feel like it's swirling in your head, make sure you have valid reasons of why you're adding a school or dropping a school. And try to remember to keep it to the number that you want. What's your goal number of applications? Because remember, there's a cost to apply for every school. So you want to make sure it's on your list for a reason. Okay. All right, Mr. Spalding. I want to just retouch on academic fit. And the reason I want you guys to think about this again is there are lots of changes with grading and testing. So knowing your academic fit up front is super important for you guys. More important than any other year, okay? Because this is what they're looking at. You need to make sure that your grades are in alignment for their incoming freshman classes that they have been accepting to the universities that you're looking at. You want to look at the middle 50% of the GPA. You want to look at the scattergrams that we have on Naviance. I know all of you know how to log in and find those. And you want to make sure that you are within those ranges, okay? The rigor of your schedule. If you have any AP or honors classes, great. But if you don't, that is not a detriment. As long as you are applying yourself to these classes, that you're doing the best you can and you're learning from them. It's okay if you got a B in the first semester, if you can get an A in the second semester, or at least if you can show that, hey, I am learning. You know, lots of kids write essays about they're not great in the classroom. Their grades may not show that but they learn these wonderful things and they can give an example of what they've learned, okay? So know how you learn and make sure that your schedule is where you want it to be. For you juniors, a lot of times we get the question, should I take another year of math because I don't have to? You know what? That's a place to show rigor of schedule. You do not need to be in calculus XYZ. But if you can go on to pre-calc or push yourself to stats or whatever it is, that's a place to show rigor, okay? So keep that in mind and think about that. I'm not saying everybody must take an a math class, but just think about why you're not taking it if you aren't, okay? You will have to take a math class when you go to college, and it's usually not in your best interest. You will probably not be happy if you take a year off of math and then jump back into it. Just putting it out there. The kids that usually don't do math their senior year don't do it because they don't like math or it's not their comfort zone. Push yourself a little bit there. That's one thing I would recommend if you can. Okay. Relationship with your teachers. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how important this is for you guys right this second. What Mr. Spalding was saying, do not fall apart for your teachers right now. Juniors, you are going to them and asking them for one of the biggest gifts they can give you. They do not get paid for it. They do it for the kids that they see are trying in their classes. They don't always write the letters for the kids that just get A's, never participate, never do anything, never show them effort. They want to write letters about how you are in the classroom. They need to see that you are trying. They need to see that extra effort. They need to see that you go for those bonus points, whatever it is. It's really, really, really important. And we'll come back to that in a little bit about how much more important it is for you guys, okay? Or I guess I'm going on my next point. It's more important because you guys may not be putting out your test scores, okay? Since your grading scale has, I don't want to say it's changed. It could change, it's up to you. Grade point average is really important right now because if you don't go with a test, what do you think they're looking at, okay? Is pass-fail better than a letter grade? I will tell you the colleges are very flexible with this semester of what the grades are, if it's pass, if it's fail, if you're going to take a letter grade, how that affects your GPA. Given that, don't think that they're not reading into things though, okay? So when you choose to do a pass over taking a C, they know you got the C. Don't think you're fooling them, okay? But address that in your essays. That's your opportunity to let them know, hey, this was my world, this is what happened, it was not or is or whatever, you know, became difficult to learn math online. I had difficulty getting to class so my grades suffer. Whatever it is, make sure you try to address those issues in your essays, or if there's additional information they need to know, okay? So those are some of the things you will want to let them know. I'm not sure that, I'm not really sure. It could be very much up in the air. If you're looking at UCs, I don't know that a pass is better than a C, even though it doesn't affect your GPA. It's really hard when you're going to be looking at schools that might be more competitive. So I can't say this is better than that. You're going to have to kind of look at yourself. You probably don't want everything to be pass-fail. You want to show that you did some effort. They will know what our grading system is. We, every year, Peninsula High submits to every single college our school profile. And our school profile goes through how we grade. And this will definitely be a part of our school profile next year. So every college and university is going to know that Peninsula let kids choose pass, fail, credit, no credit, or a letter grade. So they know that. So they are going to understand when they see a pass, you got to see. They're going to know that right away. You're not hiding anything, but it's not going to be a detriment. So like I said, if that's going to be the way you go, you really need to be able to explain that in your essays, hopefully. Okay. Next slide. All right. Implications to applicants for next year. Okay. So the SAT and the ACT testing is optional. If it's optional and you don't submit, you need to understand that the colleges are going to look at your grades a lot closer. They're also going to look at letters of recommendation if they accept them, and they're going to look at essays if you write them. So let's take Cal State, for example. Cal State, you're going to send them your grades. They don't take letters of recommendation, and you don't write an essay. There you go. They're going to be looking at your grades. So you need to really think about what you want to put out there and what shows them that you are ready to be in college. Okay. If you're going for a UC, they will look at your grades. They do not take letters of recommendation, but you get to write a personal insight question. You make sure that those questions are answered completely. It is not an essay. It is limited to number of words, so choose your words very carefully. And if you're going to apply to UCs or even think you might, and I even think this might even be one of the best things you can do, start with your PIQs or work on your PIQs first, because you can always use a PIQ and expand it to an essay. It's really hard to start with an essay and convert it into a shorter form PIQ, okay? Keep that in mind. Personal insight questions are not an essay. They don't want a long introduction. They don't want a long exposition at the end. They just want you to get to the point and answer the question, okay? Those PIQs are usually never changed. They're always the same, but I would not be surprised if they ask something next year about the impact of COVID and the semester on you personally or academically, or so take that opportunity to let them know what's going on your grades if they do ask that question. SAT and ACT, even though it might be optional, it might show that you're a better fit academically. If you know the 50% GPA needed to get into a school and you're just a little bit below that, an SAT or an ACT might show, hey, I didn't do so hot in the grades, or I did a little bit lower than what you normally accept, but here's my SAT and look, it's really good. So think about that and the impact it would have on you to show your academic readiness, okay? You will have that choice with UCs. You do not have that choice with Cal States and private schools. Most private schools, there's very few private schools I've heard of that are not going to be optional, test optional next year, but there are some. And most importantly, the SAT and the ACT might impact your ability to get a scholarship, a merit scholarship. That might make college more affordable. So when you're looking at your financial fit, you need to do a little bit of research and find out if they need that SAT or that ACT. So you have big decisions on what to do there in terms of your pass-fail and if you should test or not. Okay, Mr. Spalding, you can move to the next slide. Okay, so just like we all know, SAT canceled 3 test dates, March, May, and June. ACT postponed dates from spring to summer. There is no word yet. Well, as As of last night, they didn't say if they were going to have their summer dates or not. SAT announced that they are going to have monthly testing from August through December. And if it can't be in a big room like normal, they are ready to go online. ACT announced it's ready to move to at-home testing. I can tell you the colleges are not excited with that announcement at all. They are not behind the at-home testing options at this point. It doesn't mean that they won't be, but they're not convinced that that is a great alternative. So they're kind of they're not on board yet. So keep that in mind. So that's what's going on in the college testing world, and Mr. Spalding. But should you take it? Yes, yes, yes. I cannot say that enough. Yes, and this is why. Schools may not require you to submit your score. It will be up to you to submit it. And why not take it? You have nothing right now except time to prepare. And I'm not saying you need to prepare for 8 hours a day. You can all find 15 to 20 minutes a day right now to do home personal preparation on your own through Khan Academy and through the ACT website. They both have that option. Why not take 15 minutes a day and try to get a good score to see if it helps, okay? Look at your grades, the scores. You might need those scores to kind of, like I said, build your academic portfolio just a little bit more, okay? So I do think it's worthwhile to take it because you do not have to submit it. Schools are not requiring it. So you can take it and kind of look and say, you know what? I might be a little bit low in the GPA. It's not too, the 50% of the the 50% GPA acceptance that school takes, but my test score is not gonna make me shine. I'm just gonna leave it to the side. Or I'm dead on academically with the GPA and the score, I'm gonna show them. Or you might do really well in the test. You might as well try, okay? So keep that in mind. If you can take it, I definitely say you should be preparing and be ready for it, okay? All right, next slide. Do I submit my test? That is definitely the question. And like I said, you're gonna look at it for each school. So having that information about their previous classes, the profile of the class for GPA and test score, that's what you're really gonna need. So when I'm saying you guys really need to be on top of your game and have your research pulled together, you should have that information so you can kind of look at it and compare, okay? And more importantly, schools have not said, and many schools, and this is taken exactly from UC website, they will be using those scores for application for certain scholarships. So I want you to be aware that there is money tied to those tests. So if you are looking for merit scholarships, those tests are important and needed. But what you need to do is you need to ask the schools you're applying to or look online, because sometimes it's online. Do you use the test scores for scholarships? If you need the scholarships, does it have to be submitted with the application or can it be submitted later? Okay, because there are a couple schools that use tests for scholarships, not for admissions. And some of them require that the test be submitted with admissions. And some of them say, oh no, send it later. But you need to know what it is. Okay, and that's not something we've always told kids, oh, you have to do this, but you guys should be. Because that may answer your question, well, my score's not where I wanted it, and my grades look decent, but should I submit it? Well, if a scholarship is attached to it, why not? If it's gonna get you money, then you should be, okay? Because the one thing it's probably not gonna do is count against you unless it's really low, which I'm gonna be very honest, I rarely see a kid's test score significantly lower than what they can do academically and what is shown on their transcript. So it's usually not going to work against you. It may just not support you and push you over the edge. Okay. All right. Next slide. Financial fit. Okay. Financial fit is very important. COVID-19, I know all of you are looking at unemployment rates on the news, how many millions of people are applying for unemployment and don't have jobs. And many families are rethinking, how do I pay for it? One of the biggest questions I have from almost every senior is, should I be going to college? Can we afford it? You know, they're having those conversations with their families. It is not something to take lightly. It couldn't be more important, okay? A lot of kids are deciding that they will go to school closer to home, maybe not live at home, but just be closer to home, because I will tell you, it was a big hit to families to fly a kid home with 2 days notice last March. Oh, and what did they do with all their stuff that they had to move out? They had to have it shipped or put it into storage, or they had to find a place for it. You can't leave it in a room. So those are things that people never really quite thought about, but could happen. And most likely for this senior class that's graduating, those are going to happen. Lots of schools are planning there will be another close down, but they're hoping that they're going to have a little more control and a lot more time to make it happen. But you guys want to be aware that those are impacts to this year's class that may impact you as well. Okay, so we have lots of kids that have decided they're going to go to El Camino or Harbor or Santa Monica instead of going away to 4 years. We have lots of kids that decided to go to Cal States or UCs closer to home rather than that far away school. And by closer and far away, I have a student right now that's deciding, should I just go to Cal State Long Beach or should I go to Berkeley? But Berkeley's so far away. Well, I'll tell you, 6 months ago, no one thought Berkeley was that far away. So those are the decisions those kids are making, and you need to think about, how does that impact you? Some of the Cal States are going to get more competitive for this year. They're a lot more affordable, and maybe not as competitive as UCLA, and still close. So keep that in mind, okay? Let's see. Class of 2020, they're looking at more scholarships from the schools. So those are based on what they call endowments. So colleges start these programs, these endowments, where people that can afford it, famous alumni, will donate money. And they don't have to be famous. They don't even have to be rich, but lots of people donate money back to the alma mater, so that their school can provide scholarships to kids that need money. Or they might be doing a building project, or there's lots of reasons they start these endowments, but a lot of them are for scholarships. So basically, when a school decides how much money they're going to give you, they first want to know that the federal funds that were available were given to you, that you would be eligible for, that state funds you'd be eligible for were given to you, and then they're going to throw their money in the pot, if they can. Well, lots of kids thought their parents had money. Their parents are now on unemployment. It changes their ability to pay, and it changes what they can afford, but they can't change their federal application because it's not on what's going on today. It's based on their taxes from prior year. Okay. It's kind of this convoluted way of saying, oh, but their parents did well a year and a half ago, so yeah, they can still afford it. Well, their parents might be out of work for 20 weeks this year, a half a year, maybe longer. Maybe they lost their job completely. So the kids are going to the schools and saying, I need more money to be able to go to your school. What can you do for me? Some schools, like USC, I believe, has one of the largest endowments, I think, in the world, but definitely in the United States. And they may be in the position of going, yes, we can give you more money, no problem, because we want you to come here. Many schools don't have endowments that large. They are barely getting by with scholarships for the kids that really need it. Okay, and I'm not saying these other kids don't really need it, but needed it before this happened, let alone now. So they're looking for that money for those colleges. It might affect if those colleges still have that money for your class. Now, no school is going to try to put themselves in a position where they're not looking forward, but just be aware they're trying to fill up their classes for next year because they need to be as whole as possible. Colleges lost money by shutting down in March 2020. Students wanted refunds on room and board. They even wanted money back for part of tuition because it was no longer in class. But then there's the discussion of, is your education less because it's online? Well, if you're going to a small private school where they're selling you on the small classes of 8 with lively discussion, can you really have that same environment if you're online? And that's a discussion they're going through right now. There are some lawsuits with some schools and parents and students about getting some of that money back. So that's important to know.
Oops, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I think I might have been done with the slide. I can't remember.
I don't know how to click back.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me just look at something. I just want to make sure. Let's see. It's also important to know that colleges, some schools that didn't have the online ability had to build a technical infrastructure very quickly, and more importantly, they had to train their professors because, Peninsula's been great with teachers, helping teachers get online and do things. I mean, if you guys could see what these teachers are doing together, I'm blown away at how fast they've been able to learn and teach each other. Colleges, yes, they want to teach each other, but they're getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars from these parents and students to attend. Those parents and students don't want to wait a week for their teacher to figure something out. They want to know that their professor is taking care of them right away. So these professors had to go through training immediately. Some of them have the expertise, some of them have the ability. Some, we're all people. Not everyone's as comfortable with technology the way others are. So they've had to spend a lot of money to train people. And on top of it, if athletic events and summer programs, those are breadwinners for colleges. All those things are gone. All that money is not there. So then parents are asking, is it worth it to pay to attend college online? Hopefully for you guys, that won't be an issue. Hopefully by the time we get to you guys, a lot of this will be taken care of, but it's impacting the colleges right now, which brings us to the next slide, which we're on, the financial health of colleges. Okay, so when you're looking at the financial fit now, generally we used to talk about, can your family afford it? How do you find scholarships? All that stuff. You now need to be looking at the health of the college. Are they going to be able to sustain this, weather this storm? There are a lot of colleges that are going to close. There have been announcements for some that are not opening in the fall, ever. They're closed forever. They can't even afford to open their doors. They couldn't make it through this. A lot of those are small colleges. Many are back east. You probably haven't even heard of any of them, but there are colleges, and it is impacting larger colleges as well, okay? Just in general, just so you guys know, enrollment has been declining over the past few years already. Colleges have been talking for at least 6 years, probably 10 years, about this trend because it's a population thing. Population is going down, so for college levels, college students, our school district is talking about it. For students, we do not have the population that we've had in the past. There's already that decline, and now we're adding this on top of it. And so they are suffering, or they know they're going to be suffering, and they are trying to figure out what to do about it. Just so you know, state schools, University of Michigan has estimated that they are going to lose $1 billion before the end of this year. $1 billion, that's with a B. $1 billion, that's a university. That is huge. States are not required to provide higher education. So if states are fumbling for money, because let's face it, they're fumbling for money too. All of our businesses are closed. How are people paying for taxes? Is it going to be going to colleges and 12 plus, or is it going to be going to K-12? We don't know that, but that's something you need to start listening for. Okay. Private schools, it gets to their size of their endowment. Sometimes you can find that information, sometimes you can't. But you need to be aware that there are endowments. Ask them. I don't know if they'll always tell you, but it's a new question to be asking when you're looking at schools. Research grants. You can look at research grants for state schools and private schools and find out if they even have any. That is a way that they do make money. An alumni network and support. If you have a school that has a strong alumni network and strong alumni support, those alumni are going to do whatever they can to keep your school going, okay? I've been asked I remember one student asked me, I think it was 2 years ago, what school has the best alumni support, of the best alumni network? And my response was, if you want to stay in Southern California, you have to go to USC for their amazing alumni network. They have an incredible network, and it's not something I've just seen in this job. I used to work at Nestle for many years, and if you were from SC, I had to interview you. Didn't mean I had to hire you. I had to interview you. I didn't go to SC. Wasn't something for me, but it was someone from above that just felt that had gone to SC. That's how they felt. And I've heard that in other circles as well. So I'm not saying that's the only school to go to. I think there's some other amazing networks out there, but I do see that they build a very strong alumni network, and it's very clear. UCLA also does. They have a very strong network as well. So does LMU, so does Chapman, because those schools have figured out something that USC figured out probably 20 years ago. Tap back into your alumni, okay? Alumni are proud to have gone to their school. They want to support it, and they'll do what they need to do to support it. So it's important to know if a school has that strong alumni network, if that, because that can help you later, and it can definitely help the school. So keep that in mind. And then colleges, I just want you to know, there are, in the past week, I've seen a news article every single day about hiring freezes and layoffs at colleges and universities. So you can do Google searches on that, and you will see which schools are hiring freezes and layoffs. I would be surprised that anybody's hiring, but they are also going through layoffs. Okay, so those are things to be looking out for over the next year, or even the next few months for you guys as schools, as things are going to be announced in the news, as schools are going to realize the impact of what's happening. And I should add one more thing on here. Sports is a big moneymaker for colleges. There's some new NCAA rules that are going to affect that also. But if colleges are not allowed to have their sports and get the TV money, or have spectators at these events where they sell tickets, that's gonna dampen their ability financially as well, their health financially. So keep that in mind as you're looking at the news over the next couple months. Okay, Mr. Spalding. How can you determine the financial stability of a school? It's not public information, not always. Some of it is, some of it's not. But some of the things you guys can do, and that you should do for the schools that you are looking at, follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I don't care if you read it every day, but I will tell you, Twitter is the best way to know what's going on at the school. They love to announce when they have a research grant. They love to announce when their alumni are doing really well. They love to announce things on Twitter about what the students are doing. It's a really good way to know what's happening at the school. Okay, and if they're not tweeting a lot about research grants, then they're probably not getting them. If they're not tweeting a lot about, I can't even think, sporting events, maybe you weren't sure if they were having sporting events. It tells you, it gives you insight into what's happening in the school. So you should be following on all 3 platforms. Start a new Insta, Twitter, and Facebook account just for college and just start following them, okay? News articles. Yeah, nobody likes to read the news. We all like to watch it. But I think you should read the local newspapers for the schools that you are looking at, okay? They're all online. They're all available. It gives you information of what's happening in the area, and it gives you information on what might be happening at the school, okay? Know the region they're located in, know their population. For example, I went to an event in Louisville, Kentucky, and while I was there, I was able to go to Indiana University. It sounds really far. It's not. It's about an hour and a half away. We went to Indiana University. We had a tour of the school. We got to see everything that was going on. And something I didn't realize is that in the Midwest, most kids don't really want to go to the Midwest. It's not that's something we all kind of know. It's not a big game changer for people. It's not like, ooh, I can't wait to go to, to school in the middle of Ohio. So they're having a bigger decline in enrollment in a lot of the Midwest schools than, say, California schools. And on top of it, they're having even less males than females. And they said, we're kind of looking to keep that balance of male to female at the school. It's really difficult. So, we'd love to have more gentlemen apply to our schools that fit our academic profile. So if you know any that want to come to our school, come on, help us out, let us know. Now, I don't want to say that they're only going to be accepting boys or more boys than girls, but there's a gap there. And no school wants to become, heavily in any direction. You don't want to be too heavy anywhere. You want to make sure you have this nice kind of portrait of what you want your class to look like. You want some men, some gentlemen, some women. You want people that are really push themselves. You want people that are really into the arts. You want a broad range of people. But if they can't get very broad in one area, that might be something they're looking for. So just keep that in mind. Know the region, kind of know the population, know the trends if you can. That's not as easy. It sounds very easy for me to say, know their population. But what I'm saying is if you hear of something that sounds unusual, look into it. You never know, okay? Might just help you just that little bit. Now, they're not going to take somebody who's not well deserving. They're not going to take somebody who couldn't get in, but they're looking for those people, and maybe they give you a better scholarship. I don't know. You don't know what they might be able to do to help you get to that school. So just be aware of that. And state funding initiatives. If you are thinking of going to public schools in any state, kind of keep your ear to the ground of what's going on for their funding of their schools, because that is going to affect you guys. As states decide that they are going to be cutting budgets or adding to budgets or cutting budgets for college level or adding, so that they can fund K-12, like just be aware of what's going on with that. Okay. Next. College requirements. Somebody had asked a question about what are the college requirements to get into, to get accepted. UCs and Cal States have always had a requirement. The UC minimum requirement is a 3.0. I'd like you to show me one person at UCLA that had a 3.0. It just doesn't happen. That might be the requirement. It's only for 10th and 11th grade, but for the competitive schools and for the competitive programs, it definitely goes much higher than that. So, that's the requirement, but like I said, it doesn't mean you're going to get in. The CSU minimum requirement is a 2.5 for A through G classes. It doesn't mean you're going to get in. If you apply to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo with a 2.5, I don't see you getting in. You need something much more competitive for those schools. So even though those are minimum requirements, it's not going to help you. You're much better off knowing what their the profile of their class that they just accepted, and you guys will have the benefit of seeing another class accepted before you make some of your applications. And then I do want all of you to know, if you have not been told, Common App, which I'm sure many of you will have at least one Common App school, you will be able to provide insight of the impact of the epidemic on, I should say pandemic, on your life, academic or personal. So when this first started, I will say from March through maybe for the first month, maybe even to the end of April, it felt like every single person that was talking about applications for next year was saying, oh, don't talk about the pandemic. Everybody's living it. Everybody knows it. And then they started realizing, you know what? Everyone has a unique story of how this is impacting their life. We've had some students start incredible volunteer organizations. We've had some students, just learning to play an instrument. We've had some students learn another language. They want to know what you're doing with your time right now. They really do. Are you playing video games? Do you want to be a game developer and you're playing video games and you mastered some really hard level in a video game? Let them know if you want to be a video game developer. That's a great, that's something great that you're doing with your time that they would see as a benefit, okay? So I'm sure not all of you want to be game developers, and I'm sure not all of your parents want you to be game developers. But if that is something of interest, do what interests you and show them that that's what you're doing. If you're having a terrible time, I've heard of students basically hiding in their bedrooms under the covers in the corner. Literally, I've heard this from parents. You know what? They can't handle this. This is too much for them. It's okay to let the universities know. I fell apart. I didn't know what to do. I lost my social network. I felt like I lost everything that helped me get out of bed in the morning. It's okay to let them know. And the Common App is allowing colleges to look at that. So definitely think about that, and you should start writing it now. Start at least reflecting on it. Maybe write in a journal if it helps you, because you're going to be asked that question. So it's a good one to have ready. Okay. Make it honest. Make it from yourself. That is the most important thing. It is your personal essay. Okay. All right, Mr. Spalding. Okay. Just so you guys know, I know it feels like, oh, everybody's going test optional and we don't know what that means. Okay, well, before we get into that, underneath I have two definitions. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but I want to make sure you know the difference. There's test optional. That is, it's not mandatory for you to submit your scores. It's part of their application. They'll accept them if you want to send it, but it's completely up to you. And there's test blind. Cal State is going test blind. They're not accepting them. They're not using them. Don't even send it. And so that's not something they're even looking at, okay? So that's what a test blind school is. Keep in mind, back to scholarships, it does not mean that they don't use it for scholarships. That's a whole nother area. So please make sure you look into that. But just so you know, since, let's see, for a long time, there's been schools that have questioned test optional. And there's this website, fairtest.org, and you can pull up the schools that have been test optional, and it will show you the year that they decided to go test optional. It says over 150 have moved to temporary accommodations for the class of 2021. I think that's a lot higher now. I think I got that number 3 or 4 weeks ago. So that might even be old at this point. But if you go to fairtest.org, you can see every school that's test optional for 2021. Mr. Spalding, did you talk to them about the changes to UC that were approved last week?
No, We didn't.
Okay.
We didn't talk about any changes from last week.
Okay, so just so you guys know, I know that you're aware that UC decided to go test optional for the class of 2021 and 2022. Last Wednesday or Thursday, they had their Board of Regents meeting, which are the people that gather to decide the fates of UCs for, I think they meet every quarter. They decide how much it's going to be to attend class. They decide everything that's basically happening. So the person in charge, Janet Napolitano, did a presentation and highly encouraged the move away permanently for UCs from test optional. So, and I was hoping that UCs would just move away from the writing portion of the SAT and ACT. I cannot believe they've done this fast, but they have proposed and approved that they will be moving away from testing from SAT and ACT over the next 5 years. So for your class and the next class, for the next, I think it's 3 years, they will be completely test optional, and they are going to be looking at if it impacts the type of student that they accept. Many schools have been doing this for years, and they're really finding that the SAT and the ACTs don't add a lot of value that these schools can't get from essays and personal insight questions or your transcript. So there's lots of proof that these tests aren't making a huge impact. So this is not cutting edge. It's just cutting edge that you see this huge powerhouse in the college world has decided to do this. So I think it's 3 years they're going to be reviewing the research. And in the meantime, by year 5, they are hoping that they will have moved completely away from SAT, ACT, and that they will do their own test for kids that are out of state, maybe for in-state, but primarily for out-of-state students. Because what they've found is for the in-state students, they know the curriculum, they know the standards, they know what the teachers are grading the kids on. So do they need another test? And they are deciding that right now they don't. And they're moving this completely away from testing. Just to put it in perspective, UCs are the only schools that required writing portion of SAT and ACT. It is pretty much, UCs are pretty much the only reason that SAT and ACT even have that. Otherwise, I don't think there's one school that requires it. So for UCs to be moving away from the tests altogether is significant and will be a major change to SAT and ACT. So I just want you guys to be aware of that, and that UCs are going to really be looking at this, because what they don't want is to move away from these testing. They don't want the lack of test to be negative to this quality of student that they're accepting. And it probably won't, because there's all this research that proves that doesn't really matter. So, but I want you to be aware of it, that they'll be looking very closely at your school, at your class, at least the next 2 years, to see how this is panning out. So I want you to know that. All right, and then next slide. Be prepared. Oh, what I want you to do, which you guys are already doing, and I love it. I do want you guys to take the opportunity to take the SAT, to sign up and take the SAT and the ACT. I think signups are, I want to say, they're starting this week or next week. I'm not sure, for August and on. You may sign up and it may not happen, but be prepared. You might need it for scholarship, and you may decide it's going to help you look better academically. And everyone is a case-by-case basis, so I can't say, oh, this is going to be great for everybody. But everybody should be prepared to take it. Everybody should take it. Everybody should look at their scores. Virtual college fairs. Guess what, guys? Now, this year's class of 2020, they're going to colleges that some of them have never visited, and it was not their intention. We have many, many, many kids that applied to schools. They were going to go attend them to make the decision. They got into those schools, and they're not even, since they can't go look, they've cut all those off their list, and they're going to a completely different school than they had originally intended. That happened a lot. You guys are not going to get to go see too many schools. There's going to have to be a lot going on before they're going to accept outside visitors onto their campuses. So virtual college fairs and virtual events, that's where it's at, guys. You better start now. I just found out NACAC's doing another virtual college fair. I'll put it on the CCC website. Please feel free to check there. I think I put it under usually I have a special page, COVID-19 in college. It's usually somewhere in there. So look for them and go to them. Take those opportunities. The schools that are on your list, all of you should be on their email list. All of you should be reading your emails. You know I tell you that over and over and over. Check your emails for events that they have. Many of them are recording their events that they're doing for the class of 2020 so that you can go and kind of get a feel of what the school is like. And they're putting them on YouTube. So look for their YouTube channel if they have it. But definitely start doing these. It's kind of a different way. It's going to feel strange, but you may not get the chance to visit these schools yourselves. You're definitely not going to get to see them before you apply. It's not happening for you. No school is opening for college visits before next spring. Hopefully they'll be able to open them by next spring, but I don't know that they're going to. So definitely take advantage of all these virtual opportunities. I know it's not the same, but you're going to have to make it work. Work on your PIQs. I know you already are, so that's great. Work on your essays for Common App. I know you are, so keep it up. And start journaling what you're doing right now. How are you feeling? The impact of this pandemic, what does it mean to you? And all the schools that are on your list, I want you to be following them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, okay? And these are all things that don't take a lot of time. When you have a list of 10 schools, or even 20, I mean, at least it's something doable, but it's definitely getting you prepared. So be ready for it. Okay, I don't know, do I have another slide?
Let's take a look. What are resources?
Oh, okay, these are some of the resources I use that I always go, some of my go-tos. Uvisit.com is great for virtual tours. So definitely go to Uvisit. Big Future College Board can help you if you're not sure about what major you want. Naviance for scattergrams, keeping track of what schools you're applying to. Fair Test, like I said, if you want to know who is test optional right now. NACAC is kind of the national group of college counselors and high school counselors for college. So they have a specific area for coronavirus updates. UC, they have a specific area for coronavirus updates. And so does Cal State. And any school you're going to, don't just look on their don't just look on their regular website. Do a Google search. Like if you're interested in, I'm just gonna say University of Utah. If you do University of Utah COVID-19 response, they will put you on a special page about COVID-19, and that's where they are putting a lot of their announcements for class of 2021 application information changes. They'll have application information also in their regular space, but you'll see if there's anything that affects you guys as class of 2021. So be aware of it. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Was there questions?
Well, I want to just go. I figured out how to click back a slide. This is
okay.
I love this slide because this is this hits a lot of the points that we've been talking about in AVID 11 in recent weeks, and even going back the last couple months. But I've been strongly emphasizing. I lost it.
That's okay.
What did I do? But anyway, let's close that. So I've been strongly emphasizing the fact that kids need to be signed up for SAT and ACT because come the fall, there could be a strong likelihood that these exams are going to be booked solid and there won't be seats to take these tests. So that's my hope, that my AVID kids have listened to that. And then my other comment, you know, with UC moving towards test optional, it sounds like that puts kids in a tricky situation, because I word it to kids. If somebody says, like, if my wife tells me that something's optional, that means I better do it. And, you know, I think the same is true for colleges. You know, I've told students, you know, just because it's optional doesn't mean you have to do it. In fact, it means you really probably should do it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
and that is very true. I mean, it does say optional, and they truly do want to get a sense of, you know, those that don't turn it in and those that do. But, you know, if your GPA is a 3.5 and you're applying to UCLA, you definitely need to send in a test, because there's something about you that's going to shine, that's maybe a little bit different. Maybe you're, you know, incredible cello player. I don't know. I'm completely making that up. But generally, they don't accept kids that have a 3.5 GPA. They are looking for kids that have a 3.9 and a 4.0. So you would need that. In fact, for UCLA, I'm not even sure. I mean, I almost might tell every kid, yeah, you might want to just throw an SAT in there. For everyone, it's just a highly, highly competitive school, but we all know that going in. If you're looking at UC Merced, that might be a different story. Okay, well, let's look at what their average 50% was for their last incoming class. That's where you're going to want to look at that information and compare it to yourself. That's when you're going to want to go on to the scattergram for Peninsula High School. Okay, for the kids that got into UC Merced, this is where they are. And gee, I'm right in the middle of it. Well, maybe you don't need to send that SAT, but you have it if you do. So be ready for it. And like I said, they're going to use it for scholarships. If that's important to you, I'd have it.
Yeah. So I guess the big realization is that if you don't submit test score, SAT, ACT, then that's less data that the college will be assessing you by.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think for the average kid, having a broader picture is typically a good thing.
Right. I honestly am completely stymied by what Cal State's doing. I don't, you know, them moving to test blind is, it's really throwing me for a loop, because they don't look at anything else, guys. They don't look at anything else. They don't do letters of rec, and they don't do essays. They are only going to be looking at your transcript. I already have kids that have issues with Cal State San Luis Obispo that want to go into engineering, that do all these great engineering events at our school, and they're like, well, how do I let them know? It's like, you know, well, they added on for their engineering, they add one question. I think you can write 3 sentences, maybe. Well, how do you fit all this wonderful stuff you did into 3 sentences? And that's only one school-run program. Every other Cal State is send us your transcript. And they have relied on they have what do they call it? They take your GPA and they take your test score and they create a new number, and where you fall in line from that is how they've decided in the past. Well, now they don't have that test score. So how are they doing this? It's going to be really interesting for the Cal States. And the ones that are really competitive, San Diego's and impacted, San Diego State, Long Beach, Fullerton. I don't know how they're going to do it. And I am kind of at a loss if anybody has questions on those, so don't ask me. Not yet. Give me a little time. But just so you guys know, I will be all summer going to Cal State and UC webinars about what they're doing, because they're putting them on, and we need to be able to tell the kids something. So.
All right. Well, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask Mrs. Arico before we end? I
I have
really,
a question about.
Isba, go ahead.
So I tried following up on your advice and signing up, but it wouldn't let me. It said that College Board will contact you directly. Is that right?
For signing up for the test, I don't think they're taking signups quite yet for the August test. So,
Oh, okay.
did you sign up for I'm assuming SAT is what you said, right?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
trying to sign up, but then I saw that it said that College Board will contact you directly. It said through the week of May 26th, so this week.
Right. Okay. So there's a couple things going on, just so you guys know. College Board is going to start signups for the August test, I think this week or next week or something. But the August test is being reserved for kids who have not taken it at all, and any SAT at all, and kids that were postponed, I believe, from the March test or May test, or maybe both. So the August test, even though they're offering it, it may not be openly available. And then the September test is one they added. So then they'll start with the September, October, November, and December tests right after that. But they're trying to gear the August test for number one, students that don't have any score at all, and number two, students that had signed up and were bumped out of it. One of these most recent ones. So that might be why they say they're going to contact you.
Yeah, there were a number of kids that I spoke to that had been, when their test date got canceled, they received a notification that referenced the week of May 26th. So I agree. I don't think that the August test is going to be open to everybody. That's the sense that I've gotten.
Right.
I think it's going to be, like you said, first-time test takers and kids that were registered for one of the ones that were canceled.
Right. And that's assuming that, here's the other half of that scenario, guys. That's assuming that the places where they hold these tests will allow them to do that. So for example, we hold tests at Peninsula on the weekends, pretty much twice a month. Well, not twice, every month, I'll say about every month, we have an SAT or an ACT going on at Peninsula High School on a Saturday. It's not something run by the school. Basically, College Board and ACT work with an outside person who secures the space and pays the rent, blah, blah, blah. But when it was the March test and we were shutting down, but not a lot of other schools were not, we basically kicked out College Board and said, you can't have it here because our district has shut down use of all facilities. So, that's something we don't know. Would facilities like our school be able to be used for that? And then what are the requirements going to be? How far away do they have to sit? And if you need twice as much space for half the people, you also need the proctors of the adults that sit in there and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. So there's a lot of moving parts and making a test feasible and available, and they're trying to do all that. So it may not just be College Board. There's just so many other layers to this.
Isba, I would say here's where you want to, be persistent and on top of it and check for updates and not just go, oh, well, I can't do it right now, and then kind of forget about it. You want to check back and, be very proactive.
And don't be afraid to reach out often.
Yeah, reach out often, because you don't want to let fall come around and not have a seat for these exams. I think it would be an ideal situation to have yourself registered for 2 of the upcoming SATs, and just have it be your project to check every day and reach out to College Board and get highly informed on what it takes to get registered. And you're right, this is the week that College Board put out there to kids that had their exams canceled.
It's also the same week ACT put out there for their July test, if they're going to have it or not. So both of them are doing it. And another thing, everybody, College Board and ACT, you can follow them on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and you should be, because they will announce it there before they announce it anywhere else. So definitely be following them.
That's a great tip.
Mhm.
Okay, does anybody else have a question?
Okay, does everybody feel okay? I always feel like everybody's like so depressed when I talk.
No,
I mean, is it
Mrs.
good
Arico,
information? Do you feel like you could do it? I hope.
your presentation was wonderful. I took down a lot of notes. And if it's okay with you, I did have some kids reach out to me and they said they were I have a couple kids that are out of country right now, and
Okay.
they asked if I could post it on YouTube for them to
Yes,
view later. Is that okay with you?
absolutely, absolutely. And if they have any of you guys have questions or questions later, or your parents have questions, feel free to let me know. And if you want to put that the slides up online, that's fine too. Feel free. I'm
Okay,
happy with that as well. Whatever works to get the info out.
great.
So, okay.
Well, I so appreciate you being here and for everything you do for the AVID program.
You're
You
welcome,
really
guys.
are one of our biggest resources, one of our greatest assets. So I'm very grateful.
You're very welcome. You guys all have a great day. And I know you guys are going to be guinea pigs in many ways, but in other ways, you guys have a lot of opportunities other classes didn't. So think about it that way. And you guys have lots of time on your hands to get prepared and get behind it. You know, it's not going to be, it's a curveball for you guys. I know it's kind of feels like we're at the end and we did all the things we were supposed to do and now everybody's changing the rules, but it's not. It's you guys have a lot of opportunities. So, you know, just keep in mind where a door closes, a window opens. So, all right.
All right. Well, thank you, Mrs. Arico.
You're welcome, guys. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, Mr. Spalding, I had one more question for you.
Yes, Isba.
So, thank you for that presentation first.
Oh my gosh, wasn't that great?
Yeah.